Hello televiewers, you're here with us and I am in the company of Dr. Dahlia Khalifa. She is the Regional Director of the English speaking West Africa and Central Africa at the International Finance Corporation. She's in Douala precisely and in Cameroon for a maiden working visit. Hello Doctor, welcome.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
So this is your first working visit to Cameroon. How do you feel since your arrival?
Actually, it's not my first.
Oh.
I've been now in this role for 2.5 years, and I think this is my 6th visit to Cameroon.
All right.
And it's always a pleasure and honor to be here.
And this visit comes after a recent visit of another official.
Yes, we always have officials coming and going from IFC and from the World Bank Group. You know, IFC is part of the World Bank Group. So yes.
And can I just ask what's the interest in Cameroon's economy that the World Bank Group, led by the International Finance Corporation, is really interested in, and which could justify all these visits?
Well, Cameroon is a critical country in Central Africa. You know, we have 54 countries on the continent. IFC engages typically with as many countries as we can to support economic development through job creation and private sector development. And so Cameroon is a critical central country for IFC. In fact, our investments and our support, our financing to the private sector in Cameroon, we already have a portfolio of almost $250 million, and we have another almost $250 million in the pipeline potentially for this year. So we're very committed with almost $500 million, hopefully, in financing private sector growth. We also have a growing office in Cameroon. Mm-hmm. Our staff footprint in the Cameroon has grown from, I think, about 12 only 1 year ago to almost 40 now. So we're very highly committed to Cameroon. Cameroon, of course, is in the center, of course, of CIMAC, and so from Cameroon we're able to reach many other countries in the region, and that's why we see this as a critical point for engagement in the country.
Now, what are IFC's strategic priorities for Cameroon, and how do they support the country's development objectives?
So the National Development Plan of Cameroon is really a critical document, and we are keen to make sure that whatever we do to support private sector growth in Cameroon is aligned with that, and we believe it is. We're very much focused working on areas such as infrastructure. You know, we support infrastructure in a big way in Cameroon, but also agriculture, access to finance. SME finance in particular is critical for where we see a lot of job creation potential.
Now, how is IFC focusing on financing challenges in the SME, small and medium-sized enterprises, particularly with women entrepreneurs?
Yeah, so I'm here to sign a number of potential financing agreements. One of them is with Afriland, for example, just an example. And this will provide a lending line to Afriland of $60 million, of which $20 million is coming from IFC's own account. And a quarter of that is going to be targeting women-led businesses. Okay. We believe that women-owned businesses are an engine for growth. Mm-hmm. Right now, women in Cameroon, only 8% of them access credit, whereas 15% of men do so. So that gap is something that we want to close, because as we know, women, when they have access to credit and they start investing it in businesses, what they get out of these businesses, they bring back to their households. 90% of what women earn from businesses, they reinvest in their households' education and health and well-being, as opposed to men who only typically reinvest about 35%. Not just in Cameroon, I'm talking globally. And so therefore we see this as a major opportunity to support the country's growth going forward.
Does the International Finance Corporation think that the private-public partnership in Cameroon is very important?
It's critical. It's critical. Well, I mean, it comes down to the fact that there is just not enough funding either in the public sector or in the private sector. So when you bring the public and private together to provide financing and to provide services. That's the best of both worlds. And as we have already demonstrated in Cameroon through the Rapid Transit Project, we are committed to public-private partnerships, and we hope that we can continue to grow that potential in the country. Public-private partnerships are a tool for growth, not just in Cameroon, but across Africa and actually across the world. And it is a growing trend globally for solving a number of the areas that governments would like to provide goods and services in the economy.
And what are some of the plans that IFC have for scaling up investments in key sectors in Cameroon?
So as I mentioned, we have a number of areas that we think are critical for Cameroon. I mentioned infrastructure. That continues to be one. We have financed a number of major projects in Cameroon, such as Nachtigal, for example, but also the Rapid Transit Project through a PPP transaction. And so that's infrastructure, which is very important. Obviously, if a country doesn't have the electricity, which is a key ingredient for businesses and households, then there will always be a concern. So the government is extremely committed to solving that issue, and we as IFC are committed to partnering and supporting that moving forward. But also agriculture. I mean, Cameroon is such a rich country in terms of its agricultural resources and wealth. And so we believe that if there is more done to enable Cameroon to grow, to create and maintain value chains in Cameroon, not only will it enable greater food security, but it will place Cameroon as a critical source of foods from not just Africa, but beyond.
Now, from Cameroon, let's talk about IFC's strategic visions, not only for Central Africa, but for the English-speaking West Africa.
And the whole continent, in fact. And if you think about Africa, you have so much wealth. Africa is the future. This is amongst very few parts of the world that actually is growing in terms of population, and that's a plus. That's a virtue. That's an opportunity. The world needs skilled labor, it needs entrepreneurs, it needs people who are willing to make a difference, and that is definitely here in Africa. So we look to see where we can find more opportunities to create jobs for Africa. And if you look at the different sectors across the economy, what are some of the enablers of that? We mentioned already energy, so that's a key enabler, and that's a strategy and a particular priority area of IFC in Africa, but also digitalization. Like light, right now every economy needs to be connected to the world, not only for access to finance, but also for reaching markets, for reaching one another. So the more we can promote digitalization across the Africa continent, the better, and that is another area. Thirdly is food security and agricultural business, which we believe is another important factor, not for food security, obviously, but also to generate and maintain value chains which create jobs across the continent.
Concretely, what has IFC done to scale up investments in Cameroon in sectors like agriculture, manufacturing, digital technologies, and green energy?
So I mentioned that we have already invested through our financing to the private sector close to $250 million US. So that's a key commitment, and that we're growing, and we're hoping to double that this year alone. So already we're going from a strong base, and we want to double it, and hopefully we'll continue on that trajectory. And sectors where we've invested in, or provided financing for, are, like I mentioned, in infrastructure. But we're also, I'm here, as I mentioned, to sign a 60 million funding transaction for Afriland, which will support SMEs in the country. We're also working, today I just signed, for example, a wonderful transaction for a company, FAC, which is one of the largest producers of juices and yogurt in Cameroon, and we hope, and other household products. And this is a key sector where we feel you're creating value and retaining it in Cameroon, and so on. So pretty much we are looking to cover every sector which Cameroon has a comparative advantage in. There is a growing and budding private sector in, and that would benefit from access to finance, whether that be debt or equity, because IFC provides both to businesses. We do both debt financing, so loans, but we also are willing to actually invest equity in companies and grow with them. Working with IFC is a lifelong relationship. We feel that we're partners for as long as the company would like us to be there. And there are many companies across Africa which we have begun working with decades ago and which have grown over the years. And that is our commitment here in Cameroon as well.
As the regional director for IFC in the English-speaking West Africa and Central Africa, and especially here in Cameroon, you're here for a working visit. Can we say you're very, very satisfied with the partnership agreements, especially the financial part, which you're signing with corporations in Cameroon?
Oh, of course. It's been a wonderful partnership. There's all of the companies that we have worked with. As I said, it's a real partnership. This is not just financing. Mm-hmm. It's a partnership where we provide capacity building, training, access to markets, and it's a relationship where we benefit as well. We learn. We learn from the experiences of these companies, what works, what doesn't work, and we take that knowledge elsewhere. So it is a very mutually beneficial relationship, and our hope is that we continue to commit here in Cameroon to companies so we can help them create jobs and lift lives and livelihoods across the country.
Now, this visit ends on the 4th of April. So now what further prospects or projects that you have for Cameroon?
Well, I'm here to sign a number of transactions. Today we signed one. Tomorrow I'm signing Afriland. Also, we're doing a advisory project that I'll be signing with the SME office here in Cameroon. And that's only in 2 days. So hopefully every time I come, the team will have more for me to sign. But whether I come or not, we are continuously finding new transactions, new financing opportunities, new partnerships to engage with, because as I said, we're here for the long term.
All right, so your last words probably to your partners in Cameroon.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for everything that you do, for your vision, your leadership. It takes real vision and leadership to start a business, grow a business, create jobs. And I know I was a former entrepreneur many years ago, and so I know what it takes. And so that takes courage. And we want to be standing there beside you. So we thank you for your partnership. We also want to thank the government for their partnership and their trust and their interest in working with us going forward.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you.
So that is it. We just rounded up our short interview with the regional director for IFC in the English-speaking West Africa and Central Africa. We're here in Cameroon on a working visit, and I think it's been very enriching, and it has made us to know more about financing and advising role that the International Finance Corporation plays in the development of Cameroon. So thank you for watching, and until next time.